everybody, and welcome back to the podcast of the Fallen. I am one of your hosts, Nate, and I am joined, as always, by Matt.
Hello, welcome back. I am
We
Matt.
we still don't have a set intro or outro for these things, and I don't know that we ever will because I don't want to write out a script or anything like
You
that.
know,
So
that's a lot of work. I mean, I feel just like that we can just spitball it like that every time. That works. That's easy enough.
that's easy. But you say it's a lot of work. The summaries that I've been writing have been
Yeah,
long.
this
Um,
is true.
in the middle of trying to
Until
I've just been writing them on a note on my phone, and in the middle of writing the summary for chapter 13 this week, I had to split off and make a second note for the summaries.
geez,
It cut off at like 25,000 words or characters, not
it,
words.
what app are you using? Is this the Google one?
Just the generic notes app that I got on my phone when I got it.
Oh, I didn't know they would have a character limit. That's cool. Or not cool. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
it's
kind of weird.
whatever.
Yeah.
I am excited for this one because we were at our co-workers D&D campaign last night, which we maybe can talk about for a bit. But Matt mentioned to me that he loved chapter 12 and it answered a lot of things. So I'm excited to talk
Oh,
about it.
yeah. I mean, this finally just started answering something, setting things up that I was like, finally, we're here. We're here. This is where we get some cool info.
So I can tell you this now because my character's appearance is based slightly on Animander Rake. I'm playing a 6'6" elf with black skin and white hair who's very emo and hates everybody.
I feel like you and Todd both drew inspiration from some favorite series you guys like.
Well, Todd is just straight up playing Guts from Berserk. So,
I know. Yours was more just an inspired one. His was just a straight, I am guts.
yep.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And then Matt is playing a very dumb dwarf.
Hey, it's all right. I'm just rolling with it because I don't know what I'm doing half the time. So I'm just like, look, this is just how it's gonna go. Just gonna be this dwarf. We're just gonna figure as we go, read books on lizards.
Yep.
Uh,
It's our both of our first D&D campaign. One of our coworkers offered to DM one for us. So, we've got like 6 people and it's super fun.
it's awesome. It's actually really cool. I was like, I think because like this was based off Malazan was based off D&D campaigns, right?
Yeah, so there was actually a podcast episode a couple weeks ago which I don't think you can listen to yet because they interviewed or just talked with Steven Erickson after they finished the second book.
Oh, okay.
They went deep into the role playing stuff, and I learned things I didn't know before. Like I learned that the Gardens of the Moon screenplay was originally only going to be like the last third of the book. So all of the setup, it was like a very self-contained
Interesting.
thing,
So like
not these
he
actual
wrote this
events.
these actual events weren't campaign
Yeah,
related per se. Oh, okay. Because I mean there's some elements I was like I could see how this would be. I guess the world building, I guess more so, but like how that was definitely like a D&D inspired type of thing or was taken from that.
yeah, and they moved very quickly. He said into a different tabletop RPG called GURPS, which is much more fluid and lets you do a lot more because D&D is very restrictive in a lot of ways, and
Uh,
GURPS lets you kind of do whatever you want. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't realize how many different like tabletop RPGs there are.
quite a few out there. There's like Star Wars ones. You can get ones based on Lord of the Rings, stuff like that. So
Yeah, which is honestly pretty cool. I was like, dang, this is. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever have the time going in the future to do more, but I was like, I can see the appeal of this. This is pretty cool.
yeah. And just to give any people that might still be listening 4 episodes in an
Yeah.
idea of where we're at, I just finished editing our second episode today, and hopefully we should be releasing those. We're recording this on a Saturday night. Hopefully, we'll be releasing those tomorrow on Sunday or Monday,
Yeah.
is my plan, hopefully. So we'll have about
Kind of
2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks in advance to, as kind of a buffer.
yeah. And it's kind of crazy to think we've already made that many so far.
Yeah, we're over halfway through the book.
Blows my mind. Feel like we're just starting.
I mean, we kind of are. It's weird to me that it's taken a month to get to this point because the last time I read Gardens of the Moon, I read it in literally 2 days during Christmas time.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I was like, this would have been because there's been certain parts that hooked me in pretty good. That
Mm-hmm.
was like, crap, I want to keep reading, but it's like we gotta do this first. I don't spoil it for me myself. Like if I had read this before, I probably have just read through it. But like Like I can't do that because then I'll
Yep.
spoil it for myself. But no, I'm like I could have finished this, probably been on book 3 or 4 by this point now, if I was just going at my own pace, I imagine.
Yeah, well, because you
But
got the books and then you had to finish Stormlight Archive. And then I texted you
yeah,
and said, hey, let's do a podcast. And then it was like 3 weeks before we started.
I know because like I literally was just finishing Stormlight book 4 when you sent me that text. I think I was like I wasn't planning on starting it like next week or something. So I was like, that works. Yeah.
Yeah, there's all these moments and things coming up that I'm like, I'm so excited to talk about, but those aren't going to come up for a few months at least or longer.
I know it's so weird to think about.
The advantages and disadvantages of doing a podcast, I guess.
Yeah. At least we're not interrupted at work like we would have been. No phone calls, no angry people.
Yeah,
So
we work in a pharmacy, so we deal with angry customers a lot.
yeah. Sometimes I understand, sometimes I don't. I'm like, you just need to calm down. Anyways, we can talk about the fun stuff now.
All right. I will start us in. Chapter 11. Krupp is in yet another of his dreams, this time in a land of tundra. He asks if he has gone back to the beginning of things, and an Imass named Pran Chol says that he has. A pregnant Rivi woman from the same time as Krupp appears as well, and it's revealed that this has all been arranged by the god Kroll. Krupp is sent out to find Nightchill's body, which contains the soul of Tattersail wandering through the landscape. Kroll appears and tells Krupp of Tool and Lorne approaching the city. The Rivi takes Tattersail into her arms and throws away Nightchill's body as she prepares to give birth. The children is born, and Kroll tells Pranchol that he shall see the child in 300,000 years. We flash back to the hours before Krupp's dream, right as he leaves Baruch's estate after the demonstration with the wax coin. As he leaves, he hears a voice curse in Malazan, and his head fills with the House of Shadows image and the thought, quote, account of knots unending. Whiskey Jack and Squad are the street workers, replacing cobblestones with ammunitions. Sari says that Krupp is important and winces when asked if he's a seer. She follows him. Whiskey Jack reflects on Sari and realizes that one reason that she frightens him is that she is a reflection of what he could become, a killer with no feeling. He gets chills and a headache, and Mallet heals him. Crokus visits his uncle Mammoth and asks how long it would take him to gain an education and be known among the upper classes. Mammoth gives him a brief history lesson of Darudistan. It was built by the Gadrobi Hills from the camps and excavations, searching for the rumored Jagat Barrow. Sari follows Krupp because all that is dangerous must die. He is moving his arms all around to catch the food that he's stealing from the market via magic. The bouncer at the door of the Phoenix Inn stops her, and she kills him after making a move on her. She goes to the bar to watch Krupp, thinking that mortals are ever at a disadvantage in games of patience. Crokus bursts into the bar and orders a drink. He notices the blood on Sari's dagger. When he takes out coins to pay, Opan's coin keeps spinning, and Sari reacts instinctively with her own sorcery. Kalam steps out of Quip's bar just in time to watch a gray face light a lamp. He tells Quickben that the Assassin's Guild has gone to ground. They're trying to find the Assassin's Guild to offer them a contract to take out the city's leaders, which is the Malazan way of conquest. Quickben begins his preparations to use Kerlock one last time. The group of friends at the Phoenix Inn talks about what's happening in the city. Quickben travels through the Warren of Chaos, seeking entry to Shadowthrone's realm. He enters and asks if Shadowthrone will receive him peacefully into his realm. So let's start with the first scene. What did you make of the whole scene of Krupp in his dream, meeting a woman, and Pran Chol finding Tattersail's soul in Nightchill's body?
I'm trying to remember because this one, like, I remember it happening, but I think I read it like just long enough ago that I remember all the details. So I'm like just looking again, but no, I remember like I made a note. Like I thought it was pretty entertaining, like Krupp's interaction in his dreams. I just think it's funny, like this whole time, like he's literally talking with the Elder God, like it as an equal. It feels like sometimes, kind of jokes around and stuff, which I think is funny.
Well, as
But
we learned from one of the earlier sections, Krupp has killed off his humility.
oh yeah, that's
That
right. I
scene
forgot about
in
that.
where he talks to aspects of himself and he sees his humility, hey, like swinging from a tree.
Yeah, just so weird.
Yeah, I mean,
But
even the character list calls him a man of false modesty, and he just is like so gung ho, and they're like, "Can you go find her?" And he's like, "That should be simple for one of Krupp's charms."
yeah,
But did you have any questions about it?
I'm trying to remember because I remember because you'd mentioned in the summary, but like he knew Night Chill and Tattersail, like that was the whole thing. because
Yeah.
she was it soul casting? Is that what's called?
Yeah, I think that's what happened. So this isn't spelled out, but basically what I think happened is she was inspired by seeing Quick Ben soul shift her
Hmm.
lock into the puppet. And when she was about to be like attacked by Bellerdan earlier, she noticed right before it happened that her sealing spell was on Nightchill's remains, and that just
Yeah,
sparked the idea.
yeah, because that's what I remember as well. But like, yeah, I just think it's interesting that Krupp has a like he knows about her, which is like I don't know. It's just kind of weird that he knows, which makes me wonder who he is, I guess.
Well, I don't know that he knows. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, so Krupp doesn't know at first. Krupp is told to go find the being that has two souls sheltered inside it. Or yeah, I think that's pretty much how it's worded. And then he brings the body back. And then I think it's Kroll. Oh no, it's Rivi. The Rivi woman says to the body that, hear me, your name is Tattersail. And so I don't know that Krupp knew before that exactly who it was.
And it says here that she won't remember too much. Like they don't know how much she'll actually remember,
Yeah.
like how much of her is actually left.
Yeah, because basically what happens is they soul shift Tattersail's soul into the unborn child of the Rivi woman.
Oh yeah,
And
Tattersail's got a
then,
weird life.
yep, and then the baby is born in this scene as well.
Yeah, what's with the white fox thing? Because she's a Rivy. Is that the blue people?
No, the blue people are the Nippons. That's an
The
island
Nippons.
by Malaz City. That's Lacine's race, the Empress.
Yeah.
The Rivi are the nomadic plains people that dwell on the Rivi plain in the center of
Oh,
Ganabacus.
gotcha. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's one of those people.
So Tattersail's essentially just been reborn now, which is kind of crazy. So I imagine she may not come to play too much a part in this later on then for a while.
I will
Maybe I'm wrong.
I will just let you raffle that.
Yeah, I assume so. It's kind of just a complex thing because I was looking through it again. Well, like
Yeah.
stepped away for a minute and I was like, I remember like understanding all this, but I don't remember it too clearly just because it's like so much happens.
Yeah. We get some deep history and lore stuff from Pran Troll talking about Pran Troll, the Talon IMAS, or the just he's just an IMAS at this point. There's a difference, which I won't explain right now. But
Okay.
let's see. He says, "My kind give way to your kind, corrupt, though the wars do not cease. The jagged dwindle, ever retreat into forbidding places. The fork rule assail have vanished, though we have never found need to fight them. And the Kachin Shamal are no more. The ice spoke to them with words of death." So I'll just read that to lay some seeds for later. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. Did not make too much sense to me, but I imagine it will in the future. I'm sure there's so much more in here that I just didn't pick up on. I do
There's a
remember
lot.
the white fox thing that was kind of weird.
Yep, I won't say any more
But
about that.
they all met on this. Are they in like a dream world?
Yes,
Is
but
that's what I'm
they're also kind of back in time as well. Because if you'll remember at the very end of the section, Pran Troll says that I am saddened that I may not return in 20 years to see the woman this child shall become. And Kroll says, you shall, but not as a IMAS, as a Talon IMAS bonecaster. And Pran Troll says, how long? And then Kroll answers 300,000 years. And Kroll lays a hand on his arm and says, you have something to look forward to.
you can wait 300,000 years. So
Yep.
yeah, I don't know. That's some weird time jumping stuff
Yep. Well,
because went back. Yeah,
yeah. Well, we know they're kind of at this point they're an undead skeletal race.
because they were the eye mass. So because of that difference, I assume they were like a race beforehand, and then they all converted to a Talon, something to be the 300,000-year-old beings. But
It's a great idea. We'll learn more later.
I'm just spitballing here, just some ideas that are coming to mind.
Hey, we want the theories and the spitballs, even if it sounds insane.
Yeah. I can't think of too much else here that like I remember clearly. I was like, whoa, this is wild. Because like I said, it was just kind of dense, and I was like, yeah, this is something that'll come into play later.
Yeah. So if you don't have anything else, I don't really have anything else for that section.
You know,
Okay. And then we learn in the next section that actually happens at night. And then we flash back to the daytime. Krupp is walking out of Baruch's estate where we last left him. And then he hears a loud bang from the work crew on the street, which is actually Whiskey Jack's squad. And the House of Shadow just fills his head.
Mm-hmm. Because doesn't Sari start tailing him,
Yeah,
right?
because
Because of
Whis-
that,
Whiskey
because they're like,
Jack.
what's
Yeah, I think she notices him and tells Whiskey Jack, and he tells her to go after him.
yeah, because but I thought this I don't know if it's directly in this scene, but the I just thought it was interesting. They're laying literally like mines in the
Yeah,
ground. And there's like, yeah, we're doing this because no one will question us.
yeah. You just
Yeah.
buy. Well, I love that Whiskey Jack is like Fiddler and Hedge. We got here in the middle of the night, and by morning, Fiddler and Hedge had a wagon full of cobblestones. I don't want to ask where they got that.
Yeah. Because I mean, this is a little later on, and I think it's chapter 13, but he like mentions like, which makes more sense why they do this because they're just saboteurs. They're just there
Yeah.
to cause the mayhem and just open things up, the bridge burners, which I mean,
Hmm.
kind of plays into the name bridge burning, causing chaos and mayhem,
Yeah.
which is how the Empire then works to take control of the cities. But I thought that was just an interesting note a bit later on, but we can talk about that maybe a little later. But yeah, no, because Sari then tails him, which I thought was interesting. And she's just like, they're kind of like looking back because Kruppe notices her
Hmm.
as she follows, which I thought was interesting because he's like, because everyone that sees Sari like up close or sees the eyes of Sari is always like, that's not right. That's not a thing that should be happening.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, which makes me wonder, like, does it explicitly say, like, does your eyes look different, or is it like, when they say, like, you just see it in their eyes, like, you can just tell, I guess.
Yeah. So I think Whiskey Jack is in his POV. We've gotten that her eyes just look way older than a teenage girl's should.
It just
Like,
sounds weird.
yeah, like it feels like there's ancient knowledge behind them or something like that is how it's described.
Yeah. Because I'm like, because I keep hearing that, and I'm just like, I want to know what that looks like? Like, what do they mean by that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what I kind of picture is if you've seen pictures of, 20 something year old soldiers in World War II or
Mm,
Vietnam or any other wars, you can tell that there's something broken and different
that
in
they've
there.
seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, that makes more sense then, yeah.
But I'd imagine
To
it
picture
might
it like
be
that.
might be multiplied by like 1,000 times since it's a god looking out through her eyes.
I know, just so wild. Because what's weird is we get a little bit of dialogue later of the god being like, because it's his name's Rope, right? Cotillion or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he has like a little bit of inner dialogue because he's like, is she really gone or something? Because when she heard the word seer, she kind of was like, something happens like
Hmm.
internally, which I thought was interesting.
Do you have any theories why?
I want to say it's the connection to the old lady because she made a prediction. That's still a thing. That's kind of all I got.
Cool.
I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. So I'm just trying to like I'm trying to go back like through everything we know about Sorry, and it's just like the only thing I can think of is like the old lady doing her weird magic at the beginning. It says we're connected. So that's the only thing I can think of. But
Cool. I I'll stay silent on
ah,
any more of that.
no.
I'm not gonna confirm
I can either
most
confirm or
things
deny.
unless it's a clarification that will just help you understand some things better, but I'm not gonna clarify anything that might spoil stuff.
I just need all the clarifications now. Just kidding. Part of me feels like I'm mixing some of these plots in, like some of these timelines in.
I mean, there's literally like five or six different subplots going on right now. So it's
Oh, that
understandable if some
wasn't
of them
that
get mixed up.
because like I like there's a bit a little deviating, but like I made a note earlier because I was like, who's all the different interested parties here? Because like I wrote it down and it's like I made a list just trying to kind of like map it out. And it was like you got the Empress and then her group, like Adjunct and Taishran, like they're doing their own thing. And then you got Animander Rake and the Darkness, and then sounds like Baruch sort of working with him, sort of not. And they're like, he is the main opposer. But then of course you got Shadow Throne throwing his hat in the ring, trying to add more in. And then you got Krupp and Cruel, which I'm like still like a little bit like what's going on here because they're throwing their hat in the ring. And then you got Open and then his little people he keeps picking throwing their hat in the ring. So I'm like, what? Because yeah, there's just a lot happening that I'm like, this is yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
getting a little difficult to follow.
you've also completely missed out on the Assassin's War that's going on.
That's true, yeah.
And Whiskey Jack
The
and his
Assassin's War.
squad. But Whiskey Jack and his squad also have Sari, who has her own means. And then within Darujistan, you also have the city council trying to do stuff, but Turbinor also has his own stuff that he's doing. And you've got Crone that seems to be a double
I
agent
forgot
for
about him. Yeah,
Caladan Brood and Animander Rake.
I know. And I'm like, because I was just making the list like off the top of my head, like the big name, like kind of like or the Ascendants, I guess. Because I guess we'll get to that part a little bit later, but like that's they're trying to get them all to confront each other at one point, I guess. But you know, because there's just so many things. I'm like, what's the end goal here? Who's gonna win?
Oh, and then
If that's a thing.
I completely forgot. You've also got Piran doing his own thing with
Eh,
Talk currently.
Yeah.
You've also got the adjunct, Lorne, doing her mission. You've got
And then
Dujek
you got
that's
Hairlock.
got his own objectives. You've got Hairlock.
There's just so many.
Yeah, it's really impressive to me that within 2/3 of a book, Erickson has just created this immensely complex geopolitical situation.
Yeah, because I mean, we like Asari's over here with this whole plan. I'm just like, what kind of plan are you trying to do? Because following Kruppe, which confuses me, because isn't Kruppe trying to protect the coin bearer? They keep mentioning that.
Yes.
Is like Cruel trying to protect that? Is he like, hey, you gotta do that, or is that just more Kruppe or Krupp?
Let me see if I can find a quote from this section.
So I guess that's the only
Yes, so
question.
in that scene, that dream sequence scene that we just talked about,
Hmm.
Kroll does ask Krupp about the coin bearer, and Krupp assures him that protection has been set in motion.
Yeah. So like that's what I mean. It's like they got some ascendants like sort of working together, but not. And it's like, but they don't know who's doing it. It's just a mess. It's
Yep.
just all gonna implode and explode. I don't know.
It's almost like war
I'm
is never
excited to
as
see what
simple.
happens.
It's almost like war is never as simple as humans good, orcs bad.
I don't know. I just want a simple plot. I'm a simple man. Just kidding. No, that's why I think I'm like we're over halfway through the book, and I'm like, how in the world is this gonna play out? Just because there's so many things going on. But
Yep. So then we get a pretty brief scene of Crokus visiting his uncle Mammoth and asking him how long it would take to be known among the upper classes because he saw a naked girl in bed and he has a crush now.
oh yeah, trying to be a thief and ends up being like, I want to do more with my life now. There's a pretty girl.
Yeah. Hiding from his uncle the entire time that I'm not actually interested. I just want a highborn girl.
Yeah, it's like come on, dude.
But then we get a brief history lesson about Darujistan, which kind of plays into Lauren's plot line with the adjunct.
Yeah, because it's they're trying to find Jaggert. What are they called?
Jagat.
Jagged. So many weird names.
Yeah. Because the
I
city,
want my simple ones.
there was a rumor about the Jagat Barrow containing treasures and
Hmm.
whatnot, and so it almost to me is very similar to the California Gold Rush, where towns like San Francisco and stuff like that were built purely
Yeah,
because of the California Gold Rush in the 1800s.
because it doesn't say that Georgia stands like the big kind of like metropolis, like center for like festivals and stuff as well.
Yeah,
Like that's afterwards is built up to that.
yeah. So it became that after it became a city, but the city was built because of all of the camps and explorers just constantly searching the hills for this rumored place of riches and stuff like that. And the
Yeah,
people constantly digging down is also how they found the caverns of gas that are now used to light the city up.
which I thought was pretty cool. It's like all the stuff that they did just turned it into like this perfect little city because then they're right by the massive lake, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
even better.
And the massive lake has a massive river that connects to the ocean. So you can get
Yep.
just a
It's
ton of
like
trade that way.
literally the perfect city. No wonder the Empire wants it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been stated. Lorne tells Dujek like we desperately need Darujistan.
Because that's how you control the South, is like it's just like such a big, powerful city.
Mm-hmm. Then we get the scene. Unless you have anything else on that scene with Crokus.
I don't remember too much else that I had on that.
Okay.
But
Then we get the scene with Sari following Krupp, and he's on his way to the Phoenix Inn. But as he's walking through the market, he's kind of like walking dreamily and waving his arms around. But as he's waving his arms around, he's like stealing food from everywhere.
he's just such a quirky dude.
He is a very quirky dude.
Like I get what you mean now when you're like, I think he's funny. I'm like, he's just weird. But now I'm like, oh. But
Yeah.
he's a wizard. I don't know if that's been clarified, but he's
Oh
a
yeah,
magic dude.
he's a magic user.
Okay,
I think even earlier when we get that little description from Crokus about his group of friends, he describes Krupp as like a fat man with or a fat mage of dubious ability or something like that.
gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, he's chosen to use his magical powers to steal food from the market, which might explain why he's so fat. Yeah, and then Krupp goes into the inn and Sari follows him, and the bouncer at the door kind of tries to make a move on her, saying, "Let's go out into the alley," and she just stabs him in the eye.
I know. I was like, way to go. Power to you. I think more people, more women should do that. No pepper spray. That'll
might,
teach them a lesson. They'll
might
never
be a good
forget that.
idea. Um,
I mean, maybe not
even
as brutally as sorry, but like,
yeah, I mean, I was about to say not every girl has a ruthless god of assassins possessing her.
yeah, that's true. I think that's the only issue. Yeah, but like that was like it was like such a stereotypical like him just like being just so dumb. Like this line girls shouldn't carry swords around anyway. And then he's like, hope you're not planning to go inside with the sword. Not unescorted anyway. It's like,
Yep,
come on. You're just like asking for trouble.
yep, yeah, and I love that she just like kills him and flings him over the rail, just and he's just sitting there in front of the end. Like the next person that walks in the door is gonna find him.
Yeah, like there's just like no like I'll let me hide the body, like yeah, I'll go in the alleyway with you and just like kill him there discreetly. It's like just quick flash the dagger at the doorway and just walks in. Like, oh well. Because I mean we see I don't know if it's the same scene, but like Crokus I think notices maybe it's the same exact scene where he's like the her dagger looked wet or something.
Yeah, it's the same scene. He
Like
comes in and
didn't even
says
bother
he's
cleaning anything up.
yep. Yeah, and she walks in and orders a mug unknowingly. She orders a mug of like the most expensive alcohol that
Most
they have.
expensive ale.
And
I know.
then Crocus bursts in and is like, "Shirt's dead." And she like tenses for a second. And one of the barmaids just kind of comes and puts an arm around her shoulder and is like, "That guy was an asshole. We don't care."
Yeah. Don't worry. He had it coming to him one of these days.
Yep. And then Crocus takes out his coins to buy a drink. And Opon's coin just continually keeps spinning on the counter.
It's like the super fancy tops you see those ads for, like the rich fancy people tops or whatever, the eternity spin or whatever.
Yep. And Sari just kind of reflexively pushes against it with her own power, and the coin kind of bounces around, and then everyone there is like, "No one else saw anything? Okay, let's just pretend
Yeah,
that
because
didn't
like
happen."
didn't she bounce it back into his hand or something?
Maybe I
Sort
can't
of.
remember
Like
exactly.
that's what I thought what happened because like they're like and anyone and it was only those people in that small circle that noticed what happened, but like no one said anything.
Oh, so it skids across the bar, bounced once, and then just drops right in front of Crocus.
Oh yeah, that's right. So it returns to him
Yeah.
basically though. But yeah, no, everyone's just like, no one saw anything, right? You didn't
Yeah.
see anything.
Well, it's interrupted because Krupp's voice just comes from further in the bar, like, "Crocus, my boy, come here."
Oh yeah, that's true. We're up messing everything up.
Did you have anything else about that?
Nah, not that I can think of much from that scene.
I was just going to say I feel bad sometimes because some of these scenes are like small, so I feel like we're just kind of summarizing them,
I mean, it's a
giving like a
small
new
scene.
point
There's
of
not
view.
much.
Yeah, there's not much there.
There's not much you can. There's not much there except like that was funny.
Yeah.
You come on. You think a god would know not to buy the most expensive ale in a bar,
Yep.
like how not to draw attention to themselves. But rookie
After
mistake,
that,
I guess.
pretty much. After that, we get the start of a sequence which I suspect was your favorite part of chapter 12, which we'll talk a lot more about later. But
Yeah.
Kalam steps out of Quip's bar, and there's just these lean-tos for rent against the city wall, basically, is what I imagined. And he steps into one, and Quick Ben's there, and he starts making like magical preparations he says, to use Hairlock one last time. But we'll talk
Yeah, no,
about
because Kalam was just out doing recon at this point,
he tells
essentially.
Quick Ben they're trying to find the Assassin's Guild to get them to take out all the city leaders, but
Yeah,
the Assassin's Guild has gone to ground because someone started killing them all.
I know the eel or whatever mystery folk.
Yeah, there's not much else there. We get a really small scene of the group of people at Phoenix Inn, Crocus and the gang, just talking about stuff in the city. And then Quick Ben travels through the Warrens to Shadow Throne's realm and is confronted by the Hounds of Shadow.
Finally. Yeah, because he goes through the Warren of Chaos initially, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes to um Shadow Throne's Warren,
Yep.
which I think is interesting because Hairlock was like he's trying to mess around with chaos, but Quick Ben's like, you know nothing, Hairlock. Which I mean, this is where I got really excited. This was probably my favorite part so far. I
Yep.
thought this was also cool.
Yeah, he pushes his way. Oh, I guess he's not confronted by the hounds yet in chapter 11, but he pushes his way through into the warren and just hears the hounds howling.
And there's yeah, because then we hit chapter 12 on the next page.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Are we ready to move on to chapter 12?
Yeah, I want to get into it. I want to get to
Let's
the good part.
go.
Not that chapter 11 wasn't good, but
Okay, chapter 12. Krupp reads in Mammoth's study about the crippled god and its chaining, complaining about the tome's length. Mamet asks after his nephew and his new motivation for education. Baruch contacts them both and summons Krupp immediately. Crone reports to Baruch on what she witnessed on the plane with Hairlock. Baruch surmises that the Empire is after the Jagged Tyrant and wants to use it against Darujistan. Quick Ben follows the Hounds of Shadow to Shadowkeep and strikes a deal with Shadow Throne. He used to be a priest of Shadow and offers up Hairlock in exchange for the erasure of his death penalty for leaving the Order. He will provide Hairlock's location to the god at the proper moment and let the hounds deal with him. As he leaves, Shadowthorn recognizes him and yells angrily after him. Quick Ben grins. He's done it. Again. Krupp delivers a message to Baruch from the eel to look to the streets to find those you seek. He's then tasked with a mission to take his friends, including Crokus, and leave the city to observe in the Gadrobi Hills. Quick Ben returns to his body and remarks that he wishes that more high priests burned their robes and left their order, because without their meddling, the gods could not touch the mortal realm. Sari finds them through her sensitivity to shadow and says that she found an assassin at the Phoenix Inn. The two men leave. Ralak sees Kalam walk in and marks him. Ocelot tells him to walk out the front door and lead him to a warehouse. Ralak doesn't like it and has a bad feeling. Crokus stands watching the Darl estate. He's doubting himself about wanting to meet the Darl maiden and enter high society. He starts climbing the wall to put the girl's things back. So we can talk about Krupp reading first if you want and Crone's stuff, but I suspect that you kind of just want to jump straight into Quick Ben's stuff.
well, yeah, because I don't like there wasn't much about Krupp because he was just reading into the study and kind of just they're just chatting about like what he needs for education. So there wasn't much there. And then Crone was just this is what happened. I found
Yeah.
Hairlock, but we don't know that's Hairlock.
Yeah.
So
There's one thing that I love about the scene of Krupp reading is that he like looks up from the book after he gets to like a long list of names and is like brevity. Krupp prays for brevity.
oh yeah,
And
because he's
he makes a comment about
yeah
reading so long that he half expects to see his grandmother's name in the book, and then when Mamet asks him what he was looking for, he says, "My grandma's name."
yeah no I thought that was funny as well because he's like these ancient texts. He's like they're just so tough to read.
Yeah, he reminded me of a high school student reading Shakespeare.
Oh, I know that was Shakespeare's brutal. Teachers like worshipped him. I was like, guys, no, please, no.
I like some of it,
I
but
think I would have liked it if I didn't have to write so many essays on it all.
yeah,
But anyways, yeah, no, that was funny. But I mean, there wasn't anything too significant unless you know anything you want to comment on of those two scenes. But
yeah, there's not much else there. So let's jump into Quick Ben. What do you think?
basically, my new favorite guy. I mean, I just thought the opening was so cool. Like the hounds just walk up and he starts naming all of them and their family histories. He's like, "Oh, your son's here. Oh, your husband's here." And then he's like, "I need to speak to oh, what's his name? Totally blanking. Amanus? Amanus?
Yeah, I think he says Shadow Throne because
He says Shadow Throne, yeah. Like Lord Shadow Throne or something.
yeah, because it's like so the two gods of shadow are Shadow Throne and Cotillion, but then they also have other names. So you can also call Shadow Throne Amanus, and you can also call Cotillion the
Amanus.
Rope.
Yeah. Because it says Shadow Throne, because they're in their Shadow Kingdom, I guess, is what they control. Because Shadow
Yeah,
Throne's, he's like the guy that runs the war and
yeah,
he's like kind of home base. and the rope is he's out patrolling doing his own thing because he's in charge of the assassins. But anyways, and I just thought it was so cool because he's just naming all of them, and then he's like, "Can I speak to Shadow Throne, please?"
Take me
And so
to
he
your
walks up.
leader.
Yeah, exactly. So he goes up, and then I'm just trying to find pages again. And is it right here? Yeah, because he's like just starts chatting with him like he knows his way around how to talk to Shadow Throne, which I think is so cool because he's just like sitting up on his throne, surrounded by the hounds. And yeah, no, I think the deal is pretty cool because I thought this is probably some of my favorite stuff in books like this when you get like kind of that deeper history and lore of like Quick Ben was an acolyte, he was a priest, which I think is interesting. I'm curious to
Hmm.
see how that structure works out in the future, like if they reveal anything more. But I think he was a priest, and then he's just like, "Nope, I'm out of here," and like just leaves.
Yeah, after making like an immaculate deal, and Shadowthrone is like, I love to break deals, but I can't see a way to break yours.
That's why I think it's so cool. Like Quick Ben, he knew what he was doing. He came in setting this up. Like it's like I know how to work this out with Shadow Throne. But what I think is interesting is the Warren of Chaos, which I thought was kind of crazy that he references because oh yeah, because the question he asked, which like got him to start talking more to Shadow Throne was he's like, "Does Gear still live?" And he's like, "Oh, that's a wow, that's a good question." He's like, but yeah, so like he gets hooked in on that.
Hmm.
But his offer, isn't he trying to offer him prawn?
No, so he's offering him Hairlock because Hairlock is the one that violated the borders
Oh,
of the Shadow Realm and tried to kill Gear. And so
yeah.
Shadowthrone wants revenge on him for that. So he offers up Hairlock in exchange for his death penalty being lifted.
Oh yeah, because it was because Shadow Throne's like, I'll give you the one who almost defeated him. He's like, opens pawn. He's like, no, no, the other guy. And he's like, oh, because yeah, it just sounds crazy. He's like, he left, but he's like on a hit list now for the rope, but he's literally in the same group as the rope.
Yeah,
It's kind of wild,
yeah, which means that Sorry has been unable to detect that about him.
which is like kind of crazy because I mean, it's because like by the sound of it, how he got out is he like tapped into some like ancient magic, like elder magic, if that's a thing. Um, yeah, and that was the Warren of Chaos, and so that's how he escaped, is by the sound of it in the past.
Um,
And
I
then he
will.
uses it again to get out of Shadow's Warren.
I'll say nothing more about that.
That's why I thought it was just so cool because it's like now I want to know about the Warren of Chaos because I'm like, hold up, how does this work? Because like he referenced it when he was talking with Hairlock in the Warren of Chaos earlier. He's like, kind of how dangerous it was, I guess, but
Hmm.
because it's kind of just like raw magic or power or something.
Yeah, what did you think of the line as Quick Ben leaves? Uh, he had done it. He was out of reach. He'd done it again.
I know. I thought that was pretty cool because he's because he mentions oh what because the line is just right before that as well, I think. Because he's like, you should, because he's like, man, you've made this great plan. You should have been my servant. You know, you could have risen far. And he's like, yeah, no, I did rise far.
I was a
He's
high
like,
priest.
yeah, he's like, but you won't have me. And he's like, what do you mean? And then Shadowturn's like, oh, it's you, Dalot.
Yep.
He's like, what?
And you know what I imagine when I read this scene of when Quick Ben leaves? I see in Infinity War when Star Lord falls through the portal, escaping Thanos, and he gives him the middle finger as he falls through.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I just imagine like the smirk on his face, like you just got outplayed again. So I mean it just shows more how powerful Quick Ben is, which is pretty cool. It's like, man, he is now, as of now, probably one of my more favorite people, and I want to keep seeing what happens with him.
Yeah, Erickson like takes a character you probably thought was interesting. I'm assuming most readers thought he was interesting before, and then just hooks you and is like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah. 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 You thought he was cool? Wait till you read this. Yeah. No, that was probably one of my most favorite parts about this book so far. I was like, oh, I love this kind of stuff.
yep."
So that was cool.
Let's see. We get Krupp delivering a message from the eel to Baruch, telling him to look to the streets to find those you seek, which I think is a veiled way of telling Baruch, by the way, those work crews that were in front of your estate, yeah, take a closer
They,
look.
they may be the Empire. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Yep.
Yep.
And then Baruch tells Krupp to take Crokus out of the city and take Murillo and Cole and Rallick Nom if they can all go.
Yeah, he's like, you guys need to leave. It's not
Mm-hmm.
safe right now. Winter is coming. Oh, wrong book series.
Speaking of, though, I actually stopped halfway through the second book of Song of Ice and Fire because I know all of the story.
Yeah.
So, and I'm also watching it with one of our coworkers, JT. He's never seen it before. And so it's been kind of depressing to realize that what takes me 15 hours to read, next time I go to JT's house to watch Game of Thrones, we're going to get through that in like 4 or 5 hours.
Oh yeah, it's so slow. I think I got like, yeah, total tangent, but like I got in like 4 or 5 hours. No, maybe like 8 or 9 hours of book two. Then my audiobook, like through the library, lapsed, and I was like,
Ah,
didn't even bother renewing it because I was like, I'll get back to this down the road. I'll
yeah.
take my time with it.
So instead, over the last couple of days, I think it's been 3 days actually, I've read The Poppy War, which starts out as it's only been 3 days, and I'm like 30 pages away from the ending, and it's like 500 pages long. And I will recommend it to anyone who's listening. For the first third or so, it starts out as like a harsher version of Hogwarts set in a fictional world that's heavily based off of Chinese
China?
culture. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it has since turned into one of the most brutal war books that I've ever read in my life. So
I heard it's a really good series,
it's very good so far.
but
Anyways, total
yeah, total
tangent.
side tangent.
That's okay. Oh, and then Quick Ben's soul kind of returns to his body, and I love his comment that more priests should like leave the orders and burn their robes because without people like that, the gods just couldn't interfere with us.
I know they'd have so much less power actually, which is kind of crazy. That's how Cruel is though. He doesn't have any followers anymore, does he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another line. I was like, man, where's just like a total like history book on like how the religion works in this society? Come on, anthropologist writer, I need to know.
Oh, there's enough in here. Maybe not in this book, but there's enough in the books
Yeah,
to give you an idea.
so good, so good.
Yeah, and then Sari finds them, and Quickben thinks that it might be because he was just touching Shadow, and she's related to Shadow. So she finds him and is like, "By the way, there's an assassin at the Phoenix Inn. If you guys are still interested in that."
Oh yeah, and that's where we lead into assassins.
Yep.
The whole title, because then it gets pretty good. Is where it's up a little bit.
Kalam walks in. Rallick marks him immediately as an assassin.
Mm-hmm.
Pulls a Han Solo. Says, "I have a bad feeling about this."
And leaves.
And then Crokus is looking up at the estate, like daydreaming about his new infatuation, and starts just climbing
What
the
a
wall
weird kid.
to put her stuff back.
Such such a weird guy. Why not open pick him? I mean, it makes sense, but it doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's like 16 or 17 years old, I think. So an
Yeah,
easily manipulated teenager.
yeah. Because does it? Sorry's tracking him though.
Yeah, we find that out in the next chapter.
Oh, that's the next chapter.
So unless you have anything else, we can move on.
No, we go to the next one.
Cool.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. Chapter 13. Kalam and Quickben track Rallick from the rooftops using magic that hides them after making sarcastic remarks about the Empire and covert missions like these being behind them. They track the assassin to the warehouse district. Rallick is told by Ocelot that he's done well and that unless there's a very good wizard around, they'll be fine. A demon circles high above the warehouse courtyard, noting that one of the targets in the courtyard below is a very good wizard. Suddenly, it is kicked in the head and is fighting for its life. As 11 other figures descend towards the warehouse, it flees its attacker. Kalam and Quickben are attacked by the newcomers. Kalam dispatches two of them, the first by bringing its face down into his knee, the second by punching it so hard in the chest that ribs crack, and then flat palming its forehead. Rallick is also attacked and manages to kill one of the assailants with his crossbow. Sari watches Crokus enter the Darl estate and waits for him to reemerge. We found out that the officer that was garroted and pale was her work, and that they were a claw leader. Crokus returns the items he stole and speaks with the girl, Chalice. She laughs at his plans to introduce himself to her, and Crocus's silly, dumb, teenage love fantasy is shattered. He leaves and sees Sari in the garden below. Kalam stands tense on the rooftop as Quickben battles the other mage invisibly. Suddenly, Quick attacks the mage and tells Kalam to run. He throws a vial down to the rooftop, and a demon named Pearl appears that is bound to Tatron. Quick tells the demon to not pity the Thai standee, but to kill them and be done with it. We also find out that Quick's name, Ben Adefon Delat, is marked as among the dead of the high priest killed in 7 cities. One Thai standee descends with enough power to chill Quick Ben to the bones. Pearl says that he is being sent to his death and asks if Quick pities him. He says that he does. Rallick walks down the street, reflecting on his life as an assassin and that his final victim will be himself. He also thinks about betrayal and how Lady Simtal destroyed Call. He drags Crokus into an alley and tells him to stop pursuing the path of thievery. Animander Rake slams his sword back into its sheath, staring down at the remains of the demon. It's been his Tystandi going after the Assassin's Guild. Whiskey Jack sits watching his squad as they wait for Kalam and Quick Ben to return. Fiddler and Hedge are terrible soldiers but excellent sappers and saboteurs. He looks at his armor and remembers every blow that damaged it. Quick and Kalam return and report on what happened. Rake realized that the Malazans would want to contact the guild, so he sent his people to take out the assassins first. Kalam suggests that they start taking out council members themselves, and Whiskey Jack says it might be a good idea. Sari continues following Crokus, planning to kill him once he leaves the city. Baruch is visited by Animander Rake. Baruch explains the function that the council and the Assassins Guild serve in the city and that they balance each other out. Rake apologizes for not making his intentions clear. When asked about the demon, Rake says that it's out of anyone's reach, and Baruch looks at his sword, hearing the creak of wheels, chains, and the moan of souls. The Pale Wizards chose death rather than be killed by that sword. Kruppe speaks with Kroll in his dream, learning that the sword's name is Dragnapur, and that it contains the souls of those it kills, and that it chains the souls of those it kills to the world that existed before the coming of light.
Another killer chapter. So good.
Yep. Action-packed, contains some answers, deep
Yep.
magic stuff, all the good things.
All the good things.
So first we get Kalam and Quick Ben preparing to go out. I love their sarcastic comments to each other. Like, good thing I'm not a claw anymore. We're just soldiers, right? Right. No more cloak and dagger games for old Kalam.
As they go to play some cloak and dagger games.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's cool though, because you see more of Quick Ben's mystique of like literally other mages are like, I think there's a mage there, but I can't tell.
Well, I love that Ocelot. Rallick tells him that he thinks there's magery involved, and Ocelot tells him that unless there's a very good wizard around, we'd be fine and we'd know. And then, like, the second sentence of the demon circling above is like, hey, one of the guys down there is a very good wizard.
I know. He's like, no, I think we should be good. And then you see the perspective of this more powerful demon. No, that was so funny.
Yeah, so that demon that's flying overhead just gets kicked in the head. There's 11 others that are descending towards it, and it flees. We learn later that these are the Tystandi.
Yeah. I was gonna say that they're the eel. Then?
No, unless the eel
That's
is the
still
Tystandi,
different.
which I will not confirm or deny. But
I thought we finally met them. Dang it. I was like, this has to be them, right?
well, we could have, and it's just not been revealed yet. I won't say anything.
That's ridiculous. I protest.
Yeah, so I guess we can just go into that right now. What do you think of Animander Rake's plan, knowing that the Malazans use the local assassins guilds to take out the leaders? He just decides to kill all of the assassins guild first.
I think it's actually pretty smart, like, because this whole setup is like you get the fight with Kalam and Quick Ben, like there's like what was it like in Doom where they say a plot within a plot within a plot. Basically,
yeah.
there's like a trap with another trap.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, wait, who's you? Well, who are they? You're not who I'm supposed to kill, but you're wait, what? Because yeah, no, you got I thought it was pretty interesting because he's like, if we take them out, then the Malazan people can't do what they try to do with every other city.
Mm-hmm.
So like he's pretty smart, which is, I mean, I don't know, pretty cool. But yeah, because it mentions, is it this chapter that they're talking about it, like where they talk about like why are the cities set up the way it is with like why the assassin guilds are important, like within the politics of things.
Yeah, that's a bit later in the chapter.
Gotcha.
So we can talk about kind of this whole action sequence first and then get there.
Yeah, I was gonna say that kind of tied into what I was thinking, but yeah, no, this action sequence is pretty cool because I mean, you just see Kalam just beat up all these people like it's nothing. Finally, get to see the X-Claws skills and abilities.
Yeah, well, he's like hanging off the edge of a building, and the guy peeks his head out over the edge, and Kalam hangs there by one hand, pulls the dude down, cracks their face on his knee, and just throws them away, and then pulls himself back up.
Can you just imagine that upper body strength? Like, that's insane.
And then punches a dude, or is that one woman. Anyways, he punches the next one in the chest so hard that the ribs crack.
And then just like
Just
messes up their face.
yeah, flat palms the forehead.
It's wild. No, that was pretty cool because this whole setup as well, like Kalam and Quick Ben are looking at Ocelot and what's his name? Karam? Is that his name? I don't remember. The
Oh,
assassin.
Ocelot and Rallick.
Rallick. I was like in Karam. Jeez. I need to make a list of all these names when I'm reading. But
There's a list in here.
that's true. Maybe I should use that. But no, they keep like watching each other sort of, and then right, because he's following him,
Mm-hmm.
and then they all get jumped by the 11
just
people,
descending from the sky.
which is wild. I'm like, how that happened? Special op paratrooper stuff
Well,
in medieval times.
I mean, I can tell you the answer. There's enough context to figure it out. We know that the Tystandi live in Moonspawn, and Moonspawn is a giant floating mountain that's
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
above. I think it's slightly outside the city, but yeah.
Standy are wild.
And then we take a break from the intense action scene to go to Crokus with his obsession.
Dream girl.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she laughs at him, which I mean,
Because
I feel for the
it's a
guy,
given.
but yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's because he like breaks in like sneakily again
Mhm.
and is like kind of jumps and startled because she's like, you can just put him there. That thing goes on the left, that thing goes on the
Yep.
right. And he's like, what?
And then he kind of just blurts out like, I'm gonna get an education and I'm gonna be here with an invitation and you'll marry me because you'll like me. And
And because she's like, well, what's your name? He's like, well, I'm a thief. You're not supposed to know my name. She's like, well, you're not really a thief. You return my stuff. Like, I think that's kind of against what being a thief is.
yeah.
Because he's like trying to do like the like classic teenager, like, I'm so tough. And then she's like, what are you talking about? You're you're not.
Yep.
You put my stuff back.
We also see before that happens, we see Sari watching Crokus enter, and we find out from her.
Yeah.
Do you remember that officer outside of Pale that was found garroted?
Oh, she killed him. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one that killed him, and that guy was a Claw member.
Oh, wild.
Yeah, that's said in there too. So I just edited the episode where we talked about that a little bit, and that I was thinking that it was Kalam that did it, but nope.
Yeah. And the amount of stuff Sari's done just boggles my mind.
Okay, and then we get one of my favorite scenes in this book. Quick Ben is battling the other mage invisibly. Kalam can't see anything. And then suddenly Quick Ben just tells him to run and throws down a vial that contains a demon and is like, go kill them, please.
And he's like, you're not Tashrin.
Yeah, in fact, your name is listed among the dead high priests of 7 cities. And Quick's like, yeah, I know.
He's like, yeah, we need to talk about that.
Um,
He's like, there's a reason.
yeah. And the demon's name is Pearl. And Quick Ben tells them to go kill the assassins. And then they see a figure of immense power descending, which we find out later is Animander Rake. And Pearl is like, you're sending me to my death. And Quick says, I know. Do you pity me? And Quick Ben says, yeah. Yeah, I do. Sorry.
He's like, not much I can do here.
Yeah, it reminds me. Have you seen not like the 2016 Suicide Squad, but the newer one?
I don't think so.
It was directed by James Gunn, but the villain in the movie is a very obscure, I guess, comic book villain. It's a giant starfish that makes other starfish that latch onto faces and then make a whole zombie army. And it's been chained up and been experimented on by the government for years. And then at the very end, after it's dead, because they kill it to stop the end of the world, as it's dying, it says, I was happy floating through space looking at the stars. And it's like this perfectly delivered line that like hits you in the feels right there. And you're like, wait, I'm feeling sorry for this thing. That kind of reminds me of Pearl here.
You know, like, you're a demon, but I do feel bad because he's like, I'm going to go die, aren't I? And he's like, yeah, that's kind of why I called you. He's like, because I don't want to die. Which, yeah.
But it does beg the question, why does Quick Ben have a demon that's bound to Tashrin?
I know that, and then I'm like, how does that even work? How do you have a demon at all trapped in a bottle? Like, what?
Yep. Well, speaking of demons, when Rake visits Baruch later, he drags the demon that was flying around earlier and says, is this one of yours? And Baruch says, yeah, I chained it earlier.
Oh, yeah. No, I remember that scene because I was like, what, you chained a demon? Like, what? Oh my gosh.
Yep.
That was another question. I was like, oh, I probably won't get an answer for this for a while. I mean, that, because isn't it right after just the part with Animander Rake throwing his sword in his sheath as well.
Yeah, putting the sword in the sheath, staring down at the remains of the demon. We find out later from Quick Ben that he dispatched it in like 30 seconds.
And which is like you feel even a little more sad for the demon because it's like he just died so fast.
Well, and we find out Quick Ben has the thought, or someone has the thought, that one of Tayshran's demons can level cities if it wants. And so Rake
Yeah,
just killed this thing, and like Quick Ben and Kalam were barely a block away when it was dead.
yeah. And it's like because by the sound of it as well, like demons can sort of like revive in a sense, right? Like they just go back to something and they come back. Like usually, is that like
That is
that's a thing?
that is not a thing.
I thought it said it was like they don't they don't like die as easily or like they're like immortal or something. Like I don't know. That's why I thought I read it apart because it's like because then it talks about
Oh,
he's like with his sword he like killed it
oh yeah,
more
the
than
death
a
is
demon
final or
normally would be
something.
killed. Yeah, like it's a final death compared to a normal demon death or something.
I'm honestly not too sure about that, but demons can be killed, and maybe it's just that they're harder to kill or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. But I mean, it just adds more to that. Like the sword Rake has is like pretty gnarly.
Yeah. We also get Rallick thinking we found out why he wants to take down Lady Simtal.
What? I don't remember that part.
Oh yeah. He's walking down the street reflecting about like his life as an
Oh yeah,
assassin. Lady Simtal married Call, took everything from him and sent him out on the street pretty much.
yeah, nah, yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
So Call, their drunkard friend in the shady inn, used to be a like a noble. Let's see
Oh,
here.
because
Oh,
there's another thing I noticed because when I guess if we're kind of at that spot, Baruch and Rake when they're talking,
yeah.
because the whole plot was Rake was trying to flush out the leader of the guild the
Mm-hmm.
assassins, because he's like, I want to speak with her or kill her or something, which is I thought was kind of crazy because I was like, now I want to know who she is. Because if Rake wants to see her, then I want to see her.
Yeah, well, Rake asks Baruch, like, would she take the contract? Could she kill everyone, including you? And Baruch's like, I don't know. That's my answer to both questions.
He's like, if you weren't such a high level mage, I would probably believe you or something.
Yeah, and then Whiskey Jack and the squad are just kind of sitting around waiting for Kalam and Quick Ben to come back. This is where we learn about Fiddler and Hedge being saboteurs.
Crappy soldiers, by the sound of it, just not great.
Yeah, Whiskey Jack's like, I can't remember the last time either of them actually like used their sword.
Like they pulled it out of their sheath. He's like, these things are just paperweights.
Yep. I also love that they're sitting around the table playing cards, and Whiskey Jack's like, Fiddler is always making up new games. They're always rigged against him, but everyone still wants to play.
Because they're just so bored. Yeah, I was like, that sounds about right. Yeah, that would be. I feel like Fiddler would be one of those people.
Yeah, and then when Quick and Kalam walk in, Kalam like he took a dagger slice during the fight, and so he's on the bed getting healed,
Yeah,
and Quick just props his feet up on the table and is like, "What game are we playing?"
he's like, what's the new rules this time?
Yep,
And then Whiskey Jack is like, no, what happened? He's like, oh, just
I
he's
released a
like,
demon. And Whiskey Jack's like, one of the demons is in the city. No, it's dead. What?
no, yeah, it was killed when we were about a block away. Didn't live that long.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I think Whiskey Jack is probably thinking a little bit of we might be fucked.
yeah, we are in trouble. This is not good, guys.
Oh, and then one other thing that I did want to make a note of in this scene. We like the Malazans, they're fun. And then Kalam is like, hey, if we start taking out like innocent council members, maybe it'll flush the real leaders out. Whiskey Jack's like, that's a good idea.
I know. He's like, wait a second. We get rid
Yeah.
of all these puppets. Well, we know who's really in charge.
Yeah, I just love these moments where the scene before you're rooting for Kalam and Quickman in the fight. And then the next scene, Kalam's like, hey, if we started killing innocent council members that have done nothing to us ourselves, maybe we could get the
Yeah.
real leaders of the city flushed out and then we could kill them too.
And now you're like, and now we're back. We're back to reality. Did Sorry come back in this part
Sorry is
yet?
still following Crokus.
Okay. Oh, I'm thinking of the other scene that she barges in after Quick Ben just leaves Shadow.
Yeah,
The magic in that fight though, it
yeah.
doesn't everyone like kind of notice it?
Yeah, everyone
The
notices
magic
the
released.
demon.
Yeah.
because the demon is super powerful, and Quick Ben said it released like a death cry, and so I think when it
Yeah.
died, anyone who was proficient enough felt it.
Yeah, because that's why I thought it was interesting as well, is there's so many people like near the end of this chapter, you get their perspective of like, oh, something just went down, like this isn't good.
Yeah, like Baruch gets an intense, like high migraine level headache.
And then because Sari as well is like, whoa, something just happened. Just kind of wild. Feel
And
bad
then
for
we
the
get
demon even more now.
pretty much. Then we get Rake visiting Baruch, and we learn that the council gets things done, and the Assassins Guild is there to like balance out their ambitions and stuff like that.
Because he's like, they are the grease of this machine,
Yep.
which I thought was kind of a funny comparison. He's like, nothing moves here as smoothly without these assassins, which is kind of sad to think about.
Yeah. Baruch does have some balls because he kind of stands up to Rake in this scene because Rake is like, I'm helping your city. Is that not enough? And Baruch's like, no, tell me what you're doing.
Because isn't this where like Rake's like no one really treats him as an equal or something?
Yeah.
Like there's very few people that kind of operate that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is kind of wild. Baruch
Yeah.
is a powerful dude. He knows what's up.
Yep. And Baruch asks what happened to the demon, and Rake says it's out of anyone's reach. And Baruch hears kind of like wheels and chain, the sounds of wheels and chains coming from the sword. And then there's two wizards from Pale that evaded Rake. Baruch just killed them rather than, or he gave them the option: do you want to be killed by me or by Anamanda Rake? And they chose to be killed by Baruch.
Yeah, because he's like, "Do you have those heads that I asked for?"
Yep.
It's like, "Yep."
And then the final scene of our episode today is Kroll tells Krupp about Anamanda Rake's sword. It's named Dragnapur, and it chains the souls of those it kills to the world that existed before the coming of light.
Which is just like crazy. Because then he's like, he references him as the Knight of House Darkness, known as the
Yep.
Son of Darkness. The knight is in Durujistan, fighting a shiver of fear. Around, above, because the Cruel's like, yeah, no, he's just everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Game over.
Yes.
Um,
So if you didn't think Rick could get any more badass, he
he
kind of
did.
just did.
Yeah. Elder Magic brews anew.
Yep.
And Jagu Elder Magic. Oh, Kruppe always steps carefully, eldering one.
Yep.
What a fun line to end that. I was like, he's like, don't worry.
Don't worry. Or not I got this, but don't worry, Krupp's got this.
Kruppe's got this. Yeah.
All right. Did you have anything else to
I don't have anything else. Just this was so cool. We finally got a cool fight scene.
cool
We
fight
got to know
scene?
more about the Shadow Realm and
Yep.
Warrens and lore and magic.
Another confusing
What?
magic scene in the dream at the very beginning.
Yeah. No, that it seems like that I'm like, oh, I want to reread this. Like, can I know more? I want to reread that scene and understand it. Yeah. No, because what do we have? We have like three parts left after this.
Yeah, so
Is that right?
the next sub book that we'll be reading is called the Gadrobi Hills. And that's chapters 14,
Yeah.
15, and 16.
Cool. We're getting close,
Yep.
which is exciting.
We are getting close. 3 more episodes and we'll be done with the book.
So end of August.
Yeah, we'll be done at about the end of the month. But
Dang, that's a while.
the final episode of Gardens of the Moon probably won't release till like mid-September.
Hmm.
Or
Oh
actually,
yeah, I
no.
got no.
No, it'll release in, oh yeah, mid-September-ish. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, I got nothing else on this one except I'm excited for chapter 5 or book 5, Trophy Hills.
Yeah, we'll learn some more and keep going. By the way, I've forgotten to mention this during our other episodes, but if any listeners want to message us with feedback or anything, I'm a mod on the Malazan subreddit, and my username is Ladrac1, Ladrac1, and you can just message me there if you want. So,
Yep.
all right. Did you want to do the honors of doing our outro this week?
Yeah. How's that, Todd?